Hello you wonderful YouTubers, welcome to my channel, welcome. For those of you that have liked and subscribed, thank you so much for my previous videos. What am I doing out here at the moment? I'm literally just going for a jolly. I'm currently in the back roads of Hill Head. I don't particularly like these roads, there's far too many blooming bumps and bruises on it, but we'll get through. And there must be a firework display or something here tomorrow because the road's closed for the one day. So I'd imagine something going on down here relating to that. So what have I been up to? Well, this last week was my grandson's 5th birthday party. I really enjoyed that. I'm still a big kid at heart. And Sunday, so what are we on? We're on Monday. So yesterday I fitted a decap pipe and a DNA filter. It took a little while for my ECU to get used to the idea, but it did, and it's running absolutely perfectly. I've got more pull going up hills. It just seems to love the air intake now, and the way it just flows through. And yes, really enjoying. So good. I don't actually have much more to do to the bike, and the bits I do want to do are ifs and maybes. For instance, the tyres. Traditionally, messenger bikes, which is what this is modelled after, have knobbly tyres. They go across country, they're supposed to. So my dilemma is, do I or don't I fit knobbly tyres? And if I do, should I wait until these have actually got to the point where they need changing? These CEAT tyres, CEAT tyres, are very good actually. I mean, they grip the tarmac like a dog poop on a blanket. So yes, very impressed with them. I suppose one thing that needs a good safety margin is the contact with the tarmac. So yeah, I've got no complaints about the tyres whatsoever, or about the bike as a whole. I mean, now I'm used to it and it's run in and everything. Really, it's a wonderful machine. That may sound like I'm overdoing it, but trust me, it deserves it. Well done, Royal Enfield. God blimey. It's not the most well maintained road ever. Not a lot of room on this bridge, so I think I'll let these cars come out. At least he said thank you, which is nice. What else have I been up to? So on Friday I went aboard HMS Warrior for this week's local history. Next week I'm unsure what I'm going to do, whether it be the Mary Rose Museum, and you can see the full extent of the hull, or the half of a hull that is being preserved, that they brought up, and I'll go through that in the history if you want. Or do I do the submarine? You decide. Have you had enough of boats after Warrior, or do you want some more? And the bike history this month, or this week, sorry, is going to be Velocette motorbikes. A very rich history, and they certainly set some standards. So I'm looking forward to getting that one to you. Other than that, not a lot going on. I'll just get out of this bit. It seems to be quite busy today. The reason I'm taking these corners slow, from experience I know that most of the cars that come around there tend to take it very wide, and it's not good. Right, here we go. So I'm going to leave you in silence while I run through the local history and the bike history. You enjoy. As I mentioned earlier, this week's local history is going to be on HMS Warrior. As you know, last week I went through the history of HMS Victory, which fought in the Battle of Trafalgar. Now, the Battle of Trafalgar was a fantastic win for Britain, but the French still posed a threat for a further 10 years before the final defeat of Napoleon in 1815. At the end of the Napoleonic War, the British naval fleet was 713 ships strong, but because of the lower threat level after the war, within a few years many ships were decommissioned, and that number went down to just 121. However, there were still skirmishes and wars to be fought, such as the Crimean War in the 1850s. Many innovations to defend and toughen up the British warships were tried and often failed, such as boxes of cannonballs strapped to the side of the hull to stop the cannonballs penetrating their hull. But they just broke the wooden boxes and the cannonballs just fell into the water. It was still in the 1850s that a visiting engineer suggested the use of armour plating. They put the plating on one of the ships in the attack on the Russian forts in Kinburn in 1855. The ship suffered no damage after 200 strikes from cannon fire, which just bounced off the armour plating. And so the concept of the ironclad warship was built. And the building of the Warrior began in Blackwall, London on the 11th of May 1859. Unfortunately, because of its twice the length of any ship before, the dockyard had to be rebuilt even to accommodate the build. And by 1861, a basic hulk of the Warrior was floated and moored off Greenhithe for the remainder of the fit. A further 8 months of work was required to fit the 202 armoured plates, 40 guns, including 10 110-pounders, Armstrong rifle breech loading guns. She is 418 feet long, 58 feet across the beam, and weighs in at a hefty 9,210 tons. She would have been manned by 706 men who, interestingly, were all volunteers rather than normal press gang crews from previous ships. HMS Warrior took her first commission, and after tests of guns and equipment, she was quickly proved to be the fastest warship afloat, clocking up an impressive average of 14.4 knots, a record previously held by HMS Mersey, which recorded 13.29 knots. However, in rough seas, it was proved the bow was too heavy and caused the ship to get wet. So the bow was modified, and weights such as the head, or that's toilets to the non-navy people, were shifted further astern to make the bow more buoyant. After several excursions, she settled into a life of trips between Portsmouth or Plymouth and Ireland, Portugal, Gibraltar and Madeira. The crew were heavily trained on the guns on those trips and spent many hours on sail deployment. She was used for escort duties of royalty and spent 12 weeks touring Britain, visiting ports around the countries, and received over 300,000 visitors. After this, and because of the damage by those visitors, she was taken back into Portsmouth docks for repairs and upgrades, and this marked the end of her first commission. After the repairs and upgrades, which included bigger 7-inch and 8-inch guns, which were more powerful and accurate, she was recommissioned to resume the Gibraltar and Portugal runs. But her routine was interrupted in June 1869 when she and HMS Black Prince were tasked with towing a floating dock to Jamaica in 1871. Already outdated by more modern vessels, HMS Warrior was decommissioned and sent for a major refit and update. Unfortunately, Warrior never did keep up with the newest ships, which had a better armour,
bigger guns and were faster. So as such, she was spent most of her time at anchor, only going out to sea once a quarter for training purposes. In 1894, a lot of umming and ahhing ensued about her future. Some thoughts were to convert her to a cruise ship, other thoughts to give her a better engines. But 2 months into the engine replacement, the Navy changed its mind, declaring that Warrior was practically worthless. In 1902, Warrior was given a new lease of life. Along with HMS Vernon 1 and 2, she became part of a flotilla refitted as accommodation for training sailors in wireless and experimentation in telegraphy. In this role, she came closest to enemy action on the 25th of September when she was attacked in Portsmouth Harbour by a Zeppelin. And although guns opened up on the Zeppelin from Vernon 3, not a single shot hit its target. But after years of languish in Portsmouth Harbour, the decision to tow her to Hartlepool for work to start on preserving Warrior was made, and a restoration to her former glory was started in 1979. After 8 years of work, costing $7 million, she was completed in 1987 when she was towed back to her permanent home of Portsmouth. Even to this day, preservation work continues, and after seeing her in her full glory on my visit last Friday, I can tell you she looks magnificent. So that was HMS Warrior. I hope you enjoyed it. We are a little pushed for time at the moment, so I'm going to go straight into the motorbike history. Enjoy. So that was HMS Warrior. I hope you enjoyed it. We are a little pushed for time at the moment, so I'm going to go straight into the motorbike history. Enjoy. So this week's motorbike section is the Velocette, or originally known as the Veloce. So in 1905, John Taylor, who was born Johannes Gutgemann, and later formally changed his name to John Goodman, and his business partner William Gew, used Veloce as the name of a Taylor & Gews Limited's first 2-horsepower Veloce motorbike. Later that same year, John sets up his own firm of Veloce Limited to produce cycles and related products and services. In 1906, John's sons Percy and Eugene set up new Veloce motors to make and market a Veloce motorcar. The car does not go into production, and the company offers general engineering and various non-motorcycle products. In 1908, the design of the 276cc 2.5 horsepower 4-stroke cycle is complete with many innovative features. But in 1909, sales of the 276cc machine are slow, so the firm developed and produced a less advanced 499cc side valve machine, and in 1911 the 2.5 HP model begins to achieve some success and the ladies model is produced. The latest innovation in 1912 was the foot starter, and the Velocette 206cc 2-stroke model is announced. In 1913, Velocette brochure covers the machines, and many of their innovative features developed are well documented, and should you want to broaden your knowledge further, they're easily accessible. The Velocette becomes available as belt drive or 2-speed chain drive, which was also available as a ladies model, and sidecars are added to the range of products produced by Veloce Limited. World War I in 1914, Percy and Eugene's manufacturing company turned to the war effort, which stopped production of engines for the duration. Only 2-stroke models are offered throughout the war, the D1, the DL1, which is the ladies' bike, followed by the D2 and the DL2, again the ladies' bike, until 1919, when the factory moves to Victoria Road in Ashton, Birmingham, and 3 D2s enter the ACU 6 days trial and win 3 gold medals, putting Velocette back on the road. In 1920, the D3 appears with a 3-speed gearbox and chain drive, but still no clutch. However, in 1921, the first Velocette clutch, which was housed inside the final drive sprocket, was not unlike the Velocette clutch of the more modern models. Between 1922 and 1926, Velocette made subtle changes to their bikes and introduced various models that boasted, quite rightly, new innovations and better horsepower. Also, the introduction of the updated ladies' bike kept up with the pace of development and were well received. And so engine capacity, now at 249cc, and electric lighting known as the Maglita were offered on the market. The G model range was also introduced, including the GC for Colonial. The Model A, which had a 2-speed belt drive, and the Model B, which had the 3-speed chain drive, are launched in a light frame and were marketed as economy models. The G model range becomes the H model range, and the ladies' models are still called the E's. The A is replaced by the AC using chain rather than belt drive from the gearbox, and a new overhead cam model K is launched. Although initially called a Veloce, it was soon rebranded as Velocette to capitalise on the goodwill that the little two-stroke had earned. And a super sports model, the KSS, soon follows. The trade name Velocette is registered, the factory moves to Hall Green in Birmingham, and a Velocette ridden by Alec Bennett wins the Junior TT by 10 minutes. Exciting times. 1926 onwards is a time for remodelling existing models. The K range and the U range both get a refit, and the AK model takes the world 1-hour record at just over 100 miles per hour, and the KE and KES offer an E for economy variants. The GTP, a completely new design of a two-stroke engine with the innovation on a motorcycle of coil ignition. A KTP variant of the K models provides a fashionable twin porthead. In 1930, the tank badge now reads 26, 28, 29 TT winners, and the current versions of the KTT are known as the Mark II and Mark III. In 32, the M series with overhead valves, the MOV 248cc high camshaft 4-stroke is announced, followed by the Mac 349cc, and in 31, the Mach 4 KTT is produced. The GTP uses auto-lube oil injection where the oil pump adjustment is linked to the throttle opening, another Velocette innovation. The new Works 500cc OHC Racer is third in the senior TT meeting. Many variations of a theme continue, and the Velocette is marketed now as the 500cc model. Until the Works model Velocette came second in the Junior TT with the 600cc overhead cam outfit in the ISDT winning team. In 1940, the GTP is produced again, and so are the MOV, MAC, MSS and KSS. This sustained the company through the Second World War as other companies turned their efforts to the war effort. And in 1946, Velocette reinforced their superiority on the market by winning the first 4 places of the Junior TT. Throughout the remainder of the 40s, Velocette maintained that record by winning several more TT titles and several other titles in various categories and competitions. In 1950, let's say the fashion of bikes took a funny turn, and Velocette, along with other companies, started producing enclosed bikes such as the Velocette LE Mark II 200cc. And then in 1952 saw new innovations of the Mac. This was given the swinging arm, rear suspension and a dual seat. In 1954, the 500cc MSS reappears like the Mac but with a new design of engine. Scrambler and US variants of the MSS go into production, and then came the 1960s. The 60s introduced the Vogue, which was an LE with a streamlined glass fibre body. In 1966, a Velocette Thruxton wins the production TT. From the mid-60s onwards, however, production of several models ceased, and in February 1971, the company ceased production entirely. This is not entirely the end of the story, though. Those among you that have been a key eye have probably noticed that the Velocette always made single-cylinder bikes. However, and this is purely an interest part on mine, the genius that is Alan Milliard, and I'm sure you've all heard of him, had other ideas, and he's remodeled the 1932 Velocette GTP to have twin cylinders. Pretty clever guy, that chap. So there you have it. The Velocette motorbike, a very prolific company and very high standards that they managed to maintain. But like so many other companies in the 60s, they succumbed to a falling market and had to stop. A real shame, I think, as there would still be market leaders today. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the history and the motorbikes. Do let me know if you want the Mary Rose or the submarine for next week. If nobody asks, I'll just do my own thing. But until then, ride safe, be safe, and take care.